NaNoWriMo is finally done, and like I kind of want to die. So I have this little alligator man, and his name is Pickles, and I'm kind of curled up in my bed. And it's like December 2nd now, and I am still feeling whiplash from NaNoWriMo. I did it, and like this year was weird because I know NaNoWriMo had like a bunch of controversy about creepy people being on their forums, and like I obviously don't support that in any way because creepy people are creepy. But I had somebody ask me a really good question in my Discord because I finished NaNoWriMo and it was like, man, 30 or 50,000 words in 30 days. And the person had asked me, like, how do you just keep words going? Because there was one day, like last week, I think, where I had gotten so behind that I wrote 10,000 words in one day. And it really got me thinking about like writer's block and like how I write. But I wanted to have a discussion. If you have any good tips for writer's block, you should leave them in the comments below because I would love to like stitch it, duet it, talk about it, make video content. We can like talk about what helps us with writer's block because I think that that's something that a lot of us struggle with. If you're looking for stuff to help you out, I thought I would just lay out a couple of the things that I know that I do to help with writer's block. And this just isn't, of course, like with NaNoWriMo exclusively. This is just like anytime that you're writing. But the number one thing that I always recommend to people is what I call free writing, and this is effectively just brain word vomit. So what you're gonna do, and this sounds like totally counterproductive, right? Because I'm like, just write, right? You're gonna sit down and you're just gonna write, and that's it. And I know that that sounds counterproductive because you're like, Tycho, bro, like, I can't write. I have writer's block. But the thing is that you're trying to write too good. I want you to pretend like you're a drunk toddler and just vomit words out of your brain. Don't think about it. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't even have to be coherent. It can just be words. And most likely, that will probably kickstart some stuff in your brain. And like a clogged toilet, eventually it'll right itself. It will eventually figure itself out. But that can kind of help like lubricate your brain juices and actually get some good words flowing later. We can edit it later. We're not editing it right now. We're editing it later. The next thing that I would say is if you can get in touch with other authors, not your friends, other authors who will give you some feedback on what you're writing, do it. There are loads of communities out there like the Discord that I run, for example, where we do have a bunch of different authors who are at different, like, I would say professionality levels, like in their journey. You know, some people are novices, some people are fully published authors. It really just depends on what everybody has going on, but having someone who knows how stories are supposed to go, especially if they read a lot, can be very helpful if you do get stuck. Because if you get stuck on a specific plot point, you can always reach out to your author friends and be like, what am I doing wrong? And most likely they will be able to help like drag you through your bottleneck that you've reached. Another major thing that I would say too is that if you do get stuck, my major storytelling method is always that characters drive the plot. I think a lot of people assume when you go to write a book that plot drives the plot, which is not really the case. We want to tell stories about people, right? Because that's what we connect with as readers. That's what we connect with as consumers, is seeing stories about people who are like us and how they grow, how they change, how they hurt, how they love, right? And so if you reach a stuck point, it may be because you're trying to shoehorn your character into the plot, which they're not really fitting. And that may be why you've reached kind of a weird, like, I don't know where to go from here. It's because your character wouldn't go forward from there, right? And so taking some time and asking yourself, like, okay, what would my character do? What is their backstory? What have they been through? What traumas have they experienced? What secrets do they have? Because as soon as you know that, you might open the door to a plot point that you hadn't even considered simply because you listened to what your characters wanted to do versus what your, like, narrative had already dictated, which may or may not be the best for your story. And of course, legit, the last tip that I have, and this is also kind of counterproductive as well, but I promise it makes sense, just stop writing. If you feel like you're dying and your brain is not producing the good stuff, the good words, just stop. Like, legit, get up, get some tea, get some water, hydrate, put on some lotion because you're probably dry and crusty, your fingertips are all cracked from typing, Dab your tears because you've been crying about the writer's block for the last 30 minutes probably. Just stop. It's okay. Take a break, because we have to remember that our brain and our body is a physical thing. You cannot just run it into the ground like a machine. It's not ChatGPT. You can't just force your brain to produce content like a robot can. And if you want any kind of meaningful plot development or good writing, you have to be able to give yourself a break. Take care of yourself, boo. You deserve it. You deserve it. Self-care is important. So what tips do you have? Well, I would be really interested to know in the comments, like, is there anything that's really helped you with writer's block? I'm really lucky because I don't think I get writer's block very often, simply because I have these tools in my toolkit already to kind of force myself through that bottleneck. But what's helped you? Let me know. And I'm just going to lay here with pickles for a while and think about all of the emotional damage I've put myself through. Thanks, NaNoWriMo.